here with Fun Guy.
What's tomorrow?
Fun Guy, what's up, baby?
What it do, baby?
Yeah, you already know.
It's Peter in the house, Justin. Let's start off the NBA. So, Kawhi finally decided where he was going to go to. Justin, where did Kawhi go to?
The Clippers.
And were you surprised? Because I like after the last episode, I was definitely really wrong with my pick, and I didn't even give Clippers a shred of a chance, and then he decided to go to the Clippers, and what did you expect him to go to the Clippers or?
I think the expectation was from most people was that he was most likely to go to Lakers, but like I said last week, I think that every team has or had a good. I mean, like every team had a good reason and argument, right? And I think you can't whatever decision he made, I don't think anyone could say that that was a bad decision because it's a bad reason or whatever. I think every team had a pretty good reason. But I think the one thing I think the one thing that made it obvious after the fact that he would go to the Clippers is the big thing was the Paul George thing, right? That thing. Like I think no one really saw coming. I didn't see any news about it. I didn't see any reports. So I didn't even know that he was a piece in the whole thing. And then, obviously, the fact that they got Paul George my assumption would be the biggest swing factor towards choosing the Clippers. But I'm just curious about how it happened. Like, like we said last week, like these days, if you want to win a championship, it can't just be one player. You need three. He's got himself and Paul George now, so that's two. So it's just at what point did he go, look, I think your proposition is good, but I need someone to be here with me. If not, I'm not going to come. Or was it that they were saying, we have something from Paul George. If you're going to come, Paul George is going to come. I'm just curious as to how that happened because there's no news about Paul George at all.
I mean, you know how they're always, these pundits always saying, oh yeah, it happened because of this. But after this kind of free agency and trade window open up, and after seeing what I've seen so far, I think I've learned a lot about this trade window. When you talk about Paul George not being a piece, it wasn't reported at all. I agree with you, but I realize now why it looks a bit more plausible. Now next time the next trade window that comes up, I'll start looking at teams, teams who are good enough to make the playoffs but never good enough to make the next round. So these, I think these are the teams where GMs will look to blow it up and restart again. And I think OKC was one of those teams. And I think I stumbled upon a video where Paul George was actually talking about how he and Kawhi talks a lot, and they've been talking. So I think maybe behind the scenes, it's been kind of talked about. Maybe they've kept in touch, and maybe he could have went to the Clippers and say, if you can get Paul George, I'll come over or something. Maybe you never know. I mean, that's why.
To say that, I think is, put it this way, this is the NBA, right? All the players talk to each other.
Yeah.
So, that's just that's just whatever. I think what's interesting about this though is, different teams have different strategies. And what you said about, to be honest, I don't really understand what you said. In terms of teams might want to blow it up or whatever. But the thing that I find interesting coming out of this trade is also the perspective from OKC. So initially when the trade first happened, the reports were that Paul George requested a trade from OKC. And so they did the best that they could do in order to, one of their star players doesn't want to play for them anymore, so they did the best that they could do. Now, a few days after the trade happened, it was reported that Paul George was actually offered to in a deal to Toronto. The trade was for Pascal Siakam.
Yeah.
and the GM at Toronto didn't want to trade Pascal Siakam, and that's how he ended up at the Clippers. So I guess that leads to the question of, so maybe actually Toronto was the front runner, right? Maybe Toronto was like, or maybe Kawhi said Toronto, if you can get someone here with me, I'll stay in Toronto.
Yeah.
They went out, they had a look. Maybe they spoke to Paul George's agent, or maybe Kawhi said, I think Paul George might be interested. I'm not sure how that transpired. But then, when that didn't happen, then maybe it's like, all right, the Clippers are in a position to make the trade. The Clippers traded like 5 years worth of first round picks.
Yeah, like the greatest haul of first round picks ever, I think. So
yeah, so that was interesting. And yeah, like the stories that come out of it is interesting. And then a few days after that, there's now sort of little sort of talk of like, Paul George actually requested a trade before like all this was going to happen. And then, after Paul George has left, obviously the thing says, okay, so what happens now to Russell Westbrook, right? And the sort of the speculation now is Russell Westbrook is looking to leave, or that that teams are looking at Russell Westbrook, or even that the organization themselves is just saying, all right, now we'll just let Russell Westbrook go. But then there's news saying like, Russell Westbrook actually requested to leave even before Paul George requested to leave.
Oh, I didn't read that. But
it's sort of like,
how do you know what's true and what's not true?
Exactly. So, and these sort of things generally you only really find the answer after the fact.
Yeah.
After things happen.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things where, this story will continue wherever Russell Westbrook ends up, whether it's to stay at OKC, whether it's leaving. Like only after, because everybody wants to, have the scoop, right? Everybody wants to say.
Of course.
And that's why, when the whole like, where's Kawhi going to go thing, you ask 10 people, 3 people are going to say, it's a done deal to the Lakers. One person said, no, I heard that he's going to stay in Toronto. The other guy is going to say, no, like my sources tell me he's staying with the Clippers. And the reality for, I think very specifically for the Kawhi Leonard situation, and no one knew. And they're just talking bullshit. And that's why I said last week, no one knows.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I think, you know what? Like, I mean, like after you put out all those possibilities and all these possible news that come out, for me, the way I look at it, maybe like I see a bit more of like, they're both like Southern California guys. They get a chance to play back home where they're from. Maybe that's definitely one of the strong factors. I'm just going off like what I think are strong reasons for, and I think that's definitely one of them. The rest, who knows, man? Who knows? Maybe like you're right. Maybe they could have wanted to stay in Toronto, but Toronto just didn't want to trade Siakam for Paul George. But when I'm talking about OKC's, when I was talking about that OKC thing, I'm just talking about how like certain teams with superstars, not superstars, with stars that like they always make the 6th to 8th seed, but they that they're never good enough to make the playoffs. I think they'll be more willing.
If they're in the 6th to 8th seed, they're making the playoffs.
Yeah, no, I mean, sorry, they'll never make it further in the playoffs than the first round or second round if they're lucky, right? So what I'm trying to say is that they will be more willing to trade their star, or their star will be willing to leave, more likely to leave, right? Because they're like in
it depends because
mediocre purgatory, right? Mediocre purgatory, not good enough to win, not good enough to get a draft pick, not bad enough to get a good draft pick. They might as well trade the star, blow up the team, and get more draft picks and try to reach further with this rebuild. That's what I'm trying to say. So like,
it's like every GM will have an option, or a strategy around what they want to do, right? And whether that, you would like to think that strategy revolves around winning a championship. Now, a couple of things on what you said. One, right? I don't think my understanding is that OKC were not looking to trade any of their players.
Yeah.
Or rather, they weren't looking to trade Russell Westbrook, and they weren't looking to trade Paul George. But Paul George came up to them and requested a trade.
Okay.
So when that happens, they sort of have no choice, right? Because Paul George is going to go, right? And depending on the timing of when he made his trade request, there's no other big free agent that's available.
Yep.
Right? And once Paul George goes, their only real tradable asset that they can get another Paul George equivalent is to trade Russell Westbrook. But the fact of the matter is they're not going to get two players for one Russell Westbrook.
Yep.
So they're in a situation where, well, I guess we don't really have a choice.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
that's what I'm saying. That's why there's a possibility that the player would be like looking at the teams like, oh, I'm not going to win here, so I might as well move as well. So that's like the two possibilities. Sometimes when you're in the middle,
I mean, it's one of those things where like you can't just say, all right, every team that didn't win a championship are going to look to blow up their team, because I mean, there's very clear examples of players who stay at teams which are not going to win championship, right? Damian Lillard has re-signed with the Blazers. Right? John Wall has been at the Wizards for, his whole career.
But they're looking to shift him. He has the worst. It's just that they can't shift him because he's got the worst contract in NBA history.
I mean, don't read so much into like the way the media.
I'm just saying now. It's just for a narrative. I'm just saying I'll consider it next time. Next time, I mean. I never really even considered this before because I didn't read any news about it. But next time, I think it's like you can keep an eye out for it and see, oh, that's actually a possible piece. You know what I mean? It just opens. You realize that it's like there's a possibility that that's what I'm trying.
There's always a possibility, but the fact of the matter is that, like, for example, like no one is talking about, I don't know who's the sixth best player in the league right now, who was not in free agency this year. No one is talking about
Embiid.
Yeah, no one is talking about Joel Embiid going anywhere. No one's talking. But that's because, you can only go based on the news, right? And the thing about the NBA that makes it difficult is that the contract situation and the way the contracts interact with the salary caps, and how trades are done, and all that, all the interaction is quite complex.
Yes.
So a lot of players a lot of times are not even an option, because it's not something as simple as, oh well, their salary cap is $100 million and they've got $30 million in cap space, so they can get a $30 million player. It's not as simple as that.
Yeah, so, sometimes it's bird rights, no trade clause, and all these. Yeah, like the NBA trade thing is. No, I mean
it's more about money. So some like the bird rights, the Supermax, all that, all that. So it's more about the money. Like no trade clause, like whatever. But the other thing, speaking of this on this track, right? The other thing is that news came out today or yesterday around the contract that Kawhi signed. Actually.
Oh yeah, it's a 3-year.
Yeah, it's a 2-year with a player option.
Oh, it's a 2-year. Okay, yeah, I thought it was a 3-year with a +1 playoff. Well, I guess you're right. Okay. It's a 3-year. Oh, okay. Oh shit. That means it's gonna expire 2021, right? Yeah, 19, 20, 21. Yeah, 21. If he takes the play option.
If he takes the play option, it'll be 2022.
Is it? Because 19, 20, 2021. Oh yeah. Okay, you're right. Yep. Okay. And then there are a lot of is this basically the fact of the matter is that all these star players are taking shorter contracts. They're following in the footsteps of LeBron, No, but
they're not, right?
Why they're not?
Because the surprising thing that this news brought up, right, was that Kawhi could have taken a longer contract and got more money.
Yeah.
But he left money. First of all, he left money on the table. But he left money on the table by only taking a 2+1. Right, and then the question then becomes why. Right, and I think that question hasn't been answered yet. But it's like, why would he do that? Like, surely. Like in free agency, right? Especially after the season, he has all the power.
Yeah.
Right. You have all the power to go and make as much, get the fattest contract you can make, right?
Mm-hmm.
So why would he, in some ways, not use that power, and instead, I mean, it's still a max, but it's a 2-year max, not a 5-year max.
Yeah.
Right. And the thing is that after 5 years, when you stay in my understanding, I could be wrong on this. But if you stay with a team for 5 years, then you're eligible for a Supermax after, which is a max plus.
No,
X
I don't think
percentage
he's
of top.
eligible for Supermax anymore because if he becomes a free agent, which he was after Toronto being traded, he can't get a Supermax. He was eligible for the Supermax in Toronto because he was traded. He didn't leave as a free agent. So he's no longer.
If you leave as a free agent to like at any point in your career, you're not eligible for a Supermax.
No, I think it's something you have to. You can't leave for a free agent, and you have to stay there for a certain amount of years.
Yeah, so like I said, if he negotiated a 5-year deal, right? If he stayed he took a 5-year deal at a team, and he stays for 5 years, then he's eligible for a Supermax. Is my understanding of that.
Okay, but I'm pretty sure because he left as a free agent to Clippers, he's not eligible for it. That's why LeBron James never got a Supermax because he never stayed at the place long enough to get a Supermax.
No. That's not true. That's not
okay.
True.
Fine. I mean,
no, I don't think you understand what I'm saying.
Okay, what are you saying?
So he's a free agent right now, right?
Yeah.
And then he signs a 5-year deal with the Clippers. So 5 years from now, when that deal expires, he'll be eligible for a Supermax because he's been with the team for 5 years.
Okay. Wait.
But you are saying, oh no, because he left in free agency, he's not allowed to sign a Supermax. Yes, now he's not, because the Supermax is to reward loyalty. The idea behind it is to reward loyalty to a team. So yeah, of course now he's not.
Okay.
But in 5 years, if he stayed with Clippers for 5 years, he would be eligible in 5 years.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm amazed that I have to explain that. But anyway, that's so the back to the point itself, like why would you only sign a 2-year contract? Well, a 2-year plus a play option. It doesn't really make sense because like if you're the most.
I'm gonna hit you with some information that might explain why. Because apparently, Sports Center dropped a post on their Instagram saying the potential players available during the NBA free agency 2021. I don't know if that's like a big point. I'll just name out the names: Giannis, Kawhi, LeBron James, Paul George, Bradley Beal, CJ McCollum, Victor Oladipo. I think all these other names are not important, but I'll just name them anyway. Blake Griffin, Rudy Gobert, and Andre Drummond. So I don't know if that.
So of that list, there's only really one player, right, who is of real relevance.
LBJ or Giannis.
Giannis.
Yeah.
So again, it doesn't really explain sufficiently to me why, because like, as we can see, right, like he can sign a 5-year, like the way the NBA is, right, he can sign a 5-year deal today. 2 years from now, he can be like, I want to be traded.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a curious one. It's a curious one. Like why he would do that. To come back to that thing you said about like everyone wants to follow LeBron and sign a short-term contract. That's not true. LeBron has not signed short-term contracts. He signed one short-term contract with the Lakers when he first got there, but that's because the salary cap was increasing the following year. So
no, but when he went back to Cleveland, he signed a short contract.
Yes, but every single time he did that, the reason was because, well, there's two reasons. One of the reasons was because that the following year the salary cap was going to go up. So he has essentially an agreement with the team. I'll sign for X amount of time until the salary cap goes up. Then I'll get a max once the salary cap goes up. And that's what he did at the Lakers. The other one, or could have been the Cavs the second time around, can't remember. The other reason you wouldn't sign for quote unquote the max money would be that if your team needs the money to go out and get you another superstar. Right? So LeBron is not signing short contracts out of the goodness of his heart. Yeah. Right? He's signing contracts.
Obviously, I didn't say it's for the goodness of his heart, but it just gives him the flexibility to leave. But like you said, nowadays, you could sign a long-term contract and still leave the next year.
Yeah. And LeBron did not sign short-term contracts for flexibility to leave. He signed short-term contracts because it benefited him financially the most.
Yeah.
As you would. There's nothing wrong with that. I would do the same.
I think that's part of the parcel. That's part of being an NBA player, right? Usually.
Yeah, but that's the same. But that's why, for me, it's very curious with Kawhi why he would do that. like why he would sign. And I think there is a story there, like as in like what's the reasoning behind it. And because I assume that also took some time, because I think the reason it took some time for the deal to happen, for him to make his decision, is one is probably he's telling the Raptors and the Clippers, hey, go and get me a second guy. I don't want to be the only guy. Go and get me the second guy. And two is probably trying to trash out the details of the contract, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's an interesting one. We'll see what happens. We'll see what comes out of it.
Money missed out. Okay, fine. Fuck it. Instead of like from reading some of these stories, apparently Kawhi is not eligible for the Supermax.
For this contract or the next contract? Now that he signed a 2+1, I don't think he'll be eligible anyway.
I think for me, he's not. It trades for from reading this article, it's a Business Insider. But basically, I remember reading. I did some research on research on trades, but like he can't sign a max with. He only could have signed a super max with the Spurs, but then he decided to leave. He decided to leave to Toronto, and even though if he stayed like with Toronto, I don't know whether if he could have signed a Supermax with Toronto, but whatever.
No, he couldn't.
Yeah, so you can only that's like then is what I said. I said you can only sign Supermax with the team you got drafted in, and you can't. And I think you can if you get traded for it.
Hold on.
Hold
on.
Listen.
I'm just repeating what you're saying because I want to be clear about it. So you're saying you can only be signed to a Supermax by the team that you are drafted to. And
if you get traded in with your rookie contract, if you're still in your rookie contract, but after for example, you're done with your rookie contract, you sign a new deal with your original team that you got drafted to, and then you move, you're not eligible for the Supermax in your new team. But if you're, for example...
Yes, I understand that because the Supermax contract is designed to reward loyalty.
Yep.
Yes, let's say you're Ben Simmons, right? And you have your rookie contract. You finish your rookie contract. You sign a deal with the Sixers, and then the Sixers, trade you away, and then you sign a short, let's say they trade him to the Raptors, and then the Raptors offer a new contract at the end of that contract. Yeah, he's not going to be eligible for the Supermax because it's not like he hasn't stayed with the same team for a certain amount of time, right? He hasn't stayed with the Raptors for a certain amount of time, right? But
Ben Simmons
I'm not talking about this contract with Kawhi.
You're talking about the max contract.
You don't seem to understand. You don't seem to grasp that point.
No, so you're saying that he got offered. He could have gotten a 5-year max, but he chose not to.
Yes. Do you understand the term max?
Yeah, max means like if you go a certain amount of years, you get more per year, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
and max is not about length of the contract.
Max is
this contract that he signed is also a max contract.
Yes.
But it's max on 3 years.
Yeah.
But you got more money if you sign a 5-year contract.
Yes.
More money per year on average if you sign a 5-year contract.
Yes.
Okay, so let's say he signs a 5-year contract at the Clippers.
Mm-hmm.
Is he eligible for Supermax on his next contract after 5 years because he would have then played for the team for 5 years?
No, I don't think so.
I mean, okay, that's clearly based on. Yep. Okay, that's. I mean, if you don't think so, that's fine. I mean, personally, I don't know, but that's what I'm saying.
I'm pretty sure you're not. I'm gonna put my neck out there and say I'm pretty sure you're not. Ben Simmons got offered a Supermax extension by 76ers.
But you understand. But
I understand.
Now you understand. I'm not talking about this contract, right? You understand that, right?
I thought you said like he got offered a Supermax. I was like, wait a minute, how can you get offered?
First of all, I never said that, and second of all, I re-explained it after, and you say, "Yep, I got it," and then you obviously didn't get it.
Yes, yeah, okay, you mean the max, and I was like, okay, now I get what you're trying to say. You're trying to say the max, But anyways, let's move on to the other side of LA. Let's talk about the Lakers. So after the Lakers, failed to convince Kawhi to come over, they decided they actually acted quite quickly to fill out their roster. And they managed to get Danny Green, Kawhi's good friend, apparently. They re-signed KCP, JaVale McGee. They signed Quinn Cook. But I think the big signings, Boogie, and I don't know if you consider Rajon Rondo a big signing. I thought he was a good signing, but it's maybe because I like him. And Alex Caruso, white boy. They got a bit of fundamentals. They added a few fundamentals to their squad. I think it's a good mix. So what do you think of this new look Lakers side? Much better than last year. I mean, if you don't consider AD, the rest of the bench, better than last year.
I think in this team you have to consider AD because that's the big difference in the team.
Okay, fine. Fuck it. I mean, I'm just trying. I basically want you to evaluate the players they got back. Like for example, Quinn Cook, Danny Green, Boogie, Rajon Rondo. These are the players. I just want to know what you think. Do you think this roster is just way better? Okay, with AD. Do you think this overall roster is
definitely is better than last season's Lakers? 100%.
Okay.
But AD is what? He's a top 3 player in the league. So yeah, it's definitely better.
Okay. Wait. Oh yeah, AD. Okay. I think let's go through the first point. So it's reported that LeBron is going to start at point guard. Do you like that move?
I'm not I mean, firstly, I think you can say he's definitely capable. There's no question.
Yes.
Whether he does or not, or whether it's just an experiment at the start to work things out, if he starts at point guard, what would the starting 5 be?
Oh yeah, that's a very good point. I think he's going to get Danny Green to start at the shooting at the 2. Oh shit. Well, okay. Then they're going to play Kuz at the 3, I think, and then they might play AD at the 4, and then they play Boogie at the center. Or I don't know. I've been reading a lot of people opinion that they claim that AD's best position's at the 5. But I think he says he doesn't like playing at the 5 because he originally came up through college playing at the point. So, and I haven't, to be honest, I haven't watched much of AD, right? I just saw him in the All-Star game.
Wait, sorry. AD came through college playing the point guard?
Yes.
Really?
Apparently, yeah. Then he had a growth spurt. He had they were saying that, the reason why AD can ball out is because he started off at the point. Then he suddenly had a massive growth spurt.
But he was playing college at the point.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what all these experts were saying. So that's why they're saying, that's why AD, can dribble, can shoot the 3. Is not that traditional center, more not really like Boogie, but who's a very traditional center, whatever, fucking Tristan Thompson, that just focus on rebounds and stuff. But that's what I'm trying to say. So I don't know where's AD's best position. For me, I know LeBron. I think he's good enough to play the point guard. Very, like you said, very capable, very good with passing the ball. I've seen enough of Danny Green to know that I think he's definitely he's most likely going to be their starting shooting guard. And the rest, I just don't know. I think they will try to start Kuz, but I don't know how good he is compared to, the rest of the team. I don't. Yeah. So that's why I'm asking you. What do you think is going to happen? Hello.
No, I'm just looking at. Yeah, that's why I thought that sounded strange. I don't think he played point guard in college. He played point guard in high school.
High school, sorry. Then he had a massive growth spurt or something.
Yeah, because when you said that he had a growth spurt, I was like, you don't get a growth spurt in college. You get a growth spurt in high school as well. And so, I'll be I was super skeptical. I was like, can you play point guard in college? But anyway, whatever. So I think, it depends on the starting 5, right? So I think it still remains to be seen if DeMarcus Cousins can start on a consistent basis.
Yeah. The news came out that his quad apparently he claims his quad's 100% now. But I mean, like obviously, but
I mean the player, the player will always say that 100%.
I mean, they signed him, right? So definitely, like I think they definitely did the checks required to see, if he's gonna be fit enough. So
I mean, yes and no, because it depends on the contract. That's why when I read that they signed him, the first thing I thought about was, I wonder what the deal is. Like, is it like a deal similar to the Warriors? The Warriors used the mid-level exception for to sign 1 year, $5 million.
Yep.
Right. I wonder what the contract he has with the Lakers is. I'm not sure. I didn't see any reports about it, but maybe it's out there. I'm not sure. So LeBron signing a point. I think it's a good sort of thought exercise. I'm not sure if, like I said, he's very capable. Like don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that is something that will eventuate in the end. I'm not sure if it's something that's actually being like, no, this is what we're actually thinking of doing, or if it's something that it's a hypothetical drawn up by the journalists, right?
Yeah.
Because they got a new coach. They got Frank Vogel, right? And to be fair, I quite like Frank Vogel actually. I thought he did a pretty good job at Indiana actually. So yeah.
They got a new coach. Oh, you mean they got a new like assistant coach?
I mean, they got a new coach after Luke Walton.
Yeah. So they found a new assistant coach. Okay. So LeBron. Okay. Where else are you gonna fit the rest of the other players then? I think the definite. The definite starters are, in my eyes, it's gonna be LeBron, Danny Green, AD, and maybe Kyle Kuzma. Then I don't know who the other player is gonna be. They got Avery Bradley, who when he was back.
Yeah, I think Avery Bradley is a great pickup actually.
But do you think I thought ever since he left the Boston Celtics, a lot of people say he's like, not as good as they thought he was, because, when I remember when watching him in the playoffs against the Cavs, and he was like a tenacious defender, and that's what he was known for, right? Being a good lockdown defender. And then suddenly he moved to the Sacramento Kings or something, and then he just like never ever reached the same heights. But I don't know. I mean, I never really followed him.
To be fair, I'm not too sure if he was known as a great defender. I know that at a time with the Celtics, his offensive output was very, very good. This was when Isaiah Thomas was still at the Celtics. But I think, like, for example, someone like Avery Bradley, right? I think he's one of those players, and I think there's quite a few of them in the NBA actually, where they look really good when they're on a good team, and they don't look that good when they're on a bad team.
Yeah.
I think he's one of those types of players this Lakers team is a good team now.
Yeah.
So I think he'll be pretty good. I
really liked him from watching him, like the way I mean, like a lot of people talking up his defense, and I was like watching, and I was like, wow, he's a real tenacious defender. And apparently, he got it from his dad because his dad used to be a really good defender. Okay, anyways, so you haven't given me who's going to start, man. Who's going to start?
I don't know. I don't know the team well enough, and I think that the reality is no one knows. So, we'll wait and see. I think you're right in that, it's a no-brainer to start LeBron, it's a no-brainer to start AD, right? Those are the two stars of your team, right? Yeah. For DeMarcus Cousins, like I said, it really depends on his fitness.
Wait and see kind of thing.
So it's a wait and see kind of thing. Kuzma, he's, a young player with a lot of potential. Ideally, you on paper, you want him to start, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, like on paper in real life, it's a bit different because then it becomes a matter of like I wouldn't be surprised to see like Kyle Kuzma come off the bench, like and be like the leader of the second unit, right?
Yeah.
Because Kyle Kuzma is a sort of player where he probably works best. Like he'll want touches, and the thing is, you want to give him touches as well. You want to give him the ball as well.
Okay, he works best as the go-to guy of the unit, basically. The go-to guy of that rotation. Because you want him to touch the ball the most out of like the team, right? Like to give him
No,
chance?
not on the team. But the thing is, like, he's a young player, and the thing is, like, what is he like? If you were to like looking on 2K, right? What is his archetype?
Oh, okay, yeah.
He's a scoring wing. That's what
Yeah.
he is. He's got good size as well, right?
Mhm.
So the thing is, you put him in a situation where you're starting. You're starting the floor with LeBron, AD, maybe to some extent DeMarcus Cousins, right? At best, he's the third option on that floor,
Mhm.
right? The third option on the Warriors. Put this way: the third option on the Warriors is what Klay Thompson. Okay, but before KD got there, the third option on the Warriors was Draymond Green,
Yeah.
right? So, and the thing is, I don't think you want Kuzma to be your Draymond Green, right?
Of course not.
You want him also. I think there's also that consideration, like he's young. You want him to develop, right? So you want to get him.
So you want him to, you want to put him on opportunities to score and
exactly.
play some
You want to
attacking
put it on.
basketball.
Yeah, you want to put it on a platform where he can show what he can do and he can develop as well.
Yeah, and grow in
So
confidence.
that's why I wouldn't be surprised if he came off the bench.
I'm gonna try to watch more of the Lakers this year. I think it'll be fun. I think they'll be good to watch. So okay, we've done the Clippers, done the Lakers. Let's talk about let's talk about the impact of Paul George on OKC. Let's talk about Russ, the forgotten man, Brodie. Apparently, it's looking like he's going to leave to the Miami Heat. So my question to you, do you think a guy with Russ's character is going to meld well in with Jimmy Buckets?
I think they both have very similar characters, actually.
Yeah, exactly. But do you think they can go well together?
I think that I'm not sure, like, to be honest, because I think they're both like quiet. They want to be the alpha dogs in their team, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know, for whatever reason, I can't really put my finger on it. I can't really explain why. I've got to think about it a bit more. But I can see it. I can see it working. I can definitely see it blowing up and not working at all. And these two players are hating each other. And probably I lean more towards that. But I can definitely see it working actually as well. Like I can see a situation where it works because these two players, they have a lot to prove. They are, at the forefront of their mind really is the desire to win.
Yeah.
And I think that they have this mentality of I want to win stronger than a lot of other players.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can see it, and by winning that includes the the implication of I'm going to win by working hard.
Yeah.
So yeah, Russ is definitely, he's a bit selfish, he and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, like I said, I can if you put a gun to my head and said, is this gonna work? I'll probably say I agree with a lot of people in saying I don't think it can happen. I think they'll clash, but I can definitely see as well like it somehow working. Somehow.
Yeah. No. I'm in total agreement with you because the way I can see why it wouldn't work is because Russ is that type of guy. Don't talk that shit to me. I'm Russell Westbrook, right?
Yeah.
And I think Jimmy Butler, I think it's more of the reason why he left. For example, Milwaukee Bucks is because not Milwaukee. Sorry, the Minnesota Timberwolves was because the players around him couldn't take him telling them off, scolding them.
Yeah.
Whereas I think they're both quite old school, where they're they talk trash to each other to kind of get them heated up. Like for example, Kobe, right? Kobe would talk trash to his team.
Yeah. Like there'll be a mutual respect. Like they might not like
exactly.
each other, but there's a mutual respect.
Yes, exactly. They know it's for the better of the team kind of thing. That for example, I think Jimmy Butler will be able to take it if he's playing bad and his teammates yelling at him. I have a feeling Jimmy Butler can take it, but I don't know if Russ can take it. So you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think he can take it, but it's just a matter he won't go and put it this way. Like, I think a situation in Minnesota will not happen because the fact of the matter is, I think the understanding now is that Minnesota basically, Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins just, they, Jimmy Butler's the sort of guy, right? And I think Russell Westbrook as well. They're the sort of guy like, let's say you go for a job interview, right?
Yeah.
And then like they're interviewing for a job, and then you get the, like, you say, all right, let's meet at this cafe at 2 p.m. right? And you get there at 2 p.m. and Jimmy Butler rocks up to the interview at 2:45.
Yeah.
And they say, thanks for waiting. I had something on. And you tell him, no, like we agreed to start at 2:00 and you came at 2:45. Like, I feel that, you owe me an apology for rocking out late. Right? I feel that he's the sort of guy who'll be like, you know what? I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not gonna be like, no, I'm the boss. You're here for an interview, so you work with my time. I think he'll be like, you know what? Fair enough for calling me out. Like, I like that.
Yeah.
So I feel in some ways, like they could, it could work. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. I think Jimmy Butler can take it, but I can't see, I don't know if Russ can take it, because, and another thing is, like, what about the last shot thing? Who's going to take the last shot? Yeah. You can imagine, like, Russell Westbrook taking, like, a real fucked up three near the fucking, like, side, like, the outline, the sideline, and Jimmy Butler just going ballistics.
Yeah, so that's one thing. Like, that's, I think in a lot of people's minds, like, that's going to be the thing, right? Like, when the game is on the line, who's going to be taking the shot? And I think that is very likely to be where differences lie.
Yes.
But look, we'll see. I think Russell Westbrook, I wouldn't say I'm like a big fan of him or whatever, but I think he's a guy that has a lot to prove.
Yeah.
I think that if he leaves, especially if he leaves OKC, even if he doesn't, I think, like, this is an MVP. This guy won MVP. Despite the fact that last season was probably his worst season in terms of efficiency. Like, he averaged a triple-double. You want to say stat padding and whatever. Yeah, whatever. But very, very few players can stat pad a triple-double average over the course of the season. Right?
Unless you got a center like Steven Adams willing to say, okay, have my rebounds, bro. Like, it's wicked. It's wicked. Have my rebounds, bro.
Yeah. So, like, he's still really good. And I think he has a big point to prove.
Top 10, top 15, top 10. The reason why
I think top 15 for sure, but I'm not sure, like potentially even top 10, but I haven't thought about it enough to go down the list. So I would say top 15, I'm pretty confident he'd be in there.
I wrote a top 10. I think I said it last time, and Westbrook was in the list. But yeah, like you said, top 15 definitely. I think one thing a lot of people forget is that Westbrook's, the way the style of Westbrook's play definitely has been wearing down his body like crazy. Apparently, he has to get his knees drained out every year or something, because he's got like
he's very explosive.
Yeah, like and the way he plays is like a lot of wear and tear. So apparently they believe that he's hitting that 1,000 game mark, and when the 1,000 game mark usually affects people of Westbrook's height and position, the point guard position, and especially the way he plays, they're saying that he might decline even further. So we're yet to see that. Obviously, we're about to go see that in the coming next maybe 2 to 3 seasons. So we'll see what happens. Like you say, his efficiency dropped down, but maybe it was just him having an off year. But I'm dying to see what happens next year, obviously. Okay.
Yeah, but the fact of the matter is, like, Russell Westbrook going to Miami will not make Miami win a championship, though.
Yeah.
But I think it might make them like I don't know. Where Miami are in the West, right?
The East. They didn't make it. They didn't make it to the playoffs last year for the first time in a long time. So I think that they'll definitely get them to the playoffs. But maybe first round, maybe to the second round if they're lucky.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see Miami being, potentially even the third best team in the East, maybe.
Yeah, the East is quite open, right? Besides the 76ers and the Bucks, I think the rest is kind of open, right?
Yeah, like the Raptors definitely got worse. The Celtics, I mean, the Celtics could be a bit of a surprise package. The Pacers, the Nets won't be at full strength next season.
Yep.
Yeah.
Orlando Magic had a magical season that probably won't they probably won't be there again. So like we'll see what happens. I think
I could see them. I could see the Heat definitely being like 3 or 4 in the East if they get Russell Westbrook. Definitely.
Yeah. No, I could see that. Do you want to talk about maybe like about player power in the NBA today? Because it's been
what's there to talk about?
I don't know. They're just saying like, for example, like back then, if a player would win a championship with the team, they're more inclined to stay. But like Kawhi left Toronto, so like that's one of the case. Kevin Durant winning with the Warriors, and then he decided to leave. Stuff like that.
Yeah,
like,
but I think
being in a very strong organization, but just little things that didn't work out, and now he tried to force his move. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, I mean,
like,
I think that the thing about Kawhi leaving Toronto, I think from what I've seen, I think that's a bit of a special case. After they won the championship, I thought like, well, Kawhi surely can't leave now, right?
yeah,
Like they won a championship with him. He was Finals MVP. Like he's the main man. And the thing is, coming off what has happened recently, I think that he here's how I think it played out, right? I think that number 1 and 2 was probably the Raptors and the Clippers, and number 3 was probably the Lakers in terms of preference order.
yeah,
And he probably told the Raptors, like he told the Clippers, get me one other guy.
yeah.
I think if the Raptors got Paul George, I think that maybe he likely would have stayed in the Raptors. But the Raptors didn't want to pull off the trade, and the Clippers did. So
I don't know. For me, I think more likely I really think it's more likely that like Paul George would have preferred to go to the Clippers anyways, and so would Kawhi, right? Because they're going back home, man. These boys are going back home.
Yeah. No, I think that's true as well. But like I said, like after that news came out that the Toronto GM didn't want to trade for Paul George, then it sort of clicked, right? It's like for me, it was like, oh, like Kawhi probably told them, or probably asked these teams, or probably gave a condition like, look, I'll come back, but you need to get someone else. So you need to get someone else with me. Yeah. So, and I think the fact that this thing about him leaving Toronto as well, I think that it's quite interesting, the fan reaction. Because the fan reaction isn't, fans are not upset, or fans are not, and I guess there's some people who say, well, why would they be upset? He brought you a championship, right? But then now he brought you a championship, and now he's leaving, and now your team's probably not that good, right?
Yo,
so
dude, Canada don't give a fuck, dude. Canada's like, yeah, we just won championship, dude, and we're not even in America, Like,
yeah.
And I mean, like, I wouldn't say not everyone's mad. Like, apparently there were a lot of people, willing to give him a lot of shit in Canada. They're like people giving him, like, offering him a penthouse, free food at all these different restaurants. There was like a strip club, offering like free lap dances for life.
I mean, yeah, but all that shit is just like all their marketing gimmicks for their business, right? So it's like whatever, right? That doesn't really play into the decision.
Yeah, true.
But I think what's interesting is that the fan reaction, the Raptors fans are not upset that he's leaving, or they're not whatever. I think they're like, I'm surprised in that they were very like,
dude, they're
thanks.
Canadians, dude. They're nice people.
I mean, that's the stereotype, but that's the stereotype, and but the reality is, I don't know how true that is.
We'll see. I mean, let's just keep that bit simple. I think the real news is that Paul George is willing to play under Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers is basically the father of Paul George's ex-girlfriend that he cheated on, and he's willing to go back. So he's really serious about playing in LA, man. That's just one of those fun facts I had to share. Okay, I think maybe last bit we can talk about Adam Silver. He's gonna have a look at trying to. I don't know how he's gonna clamp down this, but I think he was thinking of like maybe changing free agency deadlines for next season, because a lot of people, I think, apparently a lot of GMs, right, they've been voicing out that this is not fair. Some GMs are tampering with my players as while they're still under contract with my club, with my organization. And then like I was listening to Bill Simmons' podcast, who they always have a lot of insights. They always get a lot of people in the NBA to talk about it stuff. And he says that the GMs are usually not against teams talking to their players if they have just like maybe a few months left, like just right before the free agency window or the trade window, whatever. They don't mind that. But what they're against is what they see as tampering is if an organization starts talking to their players and they agree to move if they still have a year on the contract, basically before the season start. And so now there's like a little bit of talk, like a bit of pressure on Adam Silver to try and resolve this. So my question to you is like, do you think they can ever really stop this? I think this is one of those things where it's like near impossible to kind of like enforce against,
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I don't think it's something that you can really do, because at the end of the day, right, like, if a GM, I think a couple of things. One is that if a GM wants to talk to a player, right, to come to his organization, like, he can just talk to the player's agent, right?
Yeah.
And it could be there is enough, how to say, plausible deniability. Say, like, I just bumped into him to the agent in a restaurant, and like we had a private conversation. How are you going to enforce it? Like, what are you going to do? The second thing is that I think a lot of GMs these days are the players, and you're never going to get the players to stop talking to other players.
Yeah, it's like you feel like Kawhi just GM'd the move for the Clippers,
or rather, like, look, the AD thing, right? Like, who was the real GM in the thing? It was two people, right? One was LeBron. Yeah, one was LeBron, and the other one was LeBron's agent, right?
Or Rich.
Yeah.
Rich Paul. Is it Rich Paul? Yeah.
Yeah.
Or Rich Paul.
Yeah, Rich Paul, right? So those aren't GMs.
Yeah.
Right? Those guys aren't GMs, but they were very, very influential in getting AD to express an interest to come to Lakers. Look at what's happened at Brooklyn, right? Like KD and Kyrie. Like you think the Russian guy that owns Brooklyn like was sending KD messages throughout the season? He wasn't, right? Like, it's the players convincing other players to come with them or come to my team or come, this and that. Look at what happened. Look at what's happened with the Clippers, right? Like Kawhi said, and like you said, you think maybe Paul George and Kawhi they have a friendship or whatever, right? Like they've probably talked as well. Like, let's play together or something like that. So yeah, okay, fine. If Adam Silver says, okay, like GMs can't talk, if we see you in a restaurant or you're spotted wherever with an agent or whatever, like that's an immediate, fine or whatever. I mean, you can do that. But
yeah,
what are you going to do about the players? Like, the players are out there recruiting, and the players are not doing it, only doing free agency anymore, right? The players are not doing it like.
Yeah, but no, like for example, the Paul George trade, right? Some people are saying that Sam Presti's interview regarding Paul George trade gave a slight hint, that there was a bit of the news article used the word tampering, but it was like premeditated, Apparently, like, this could have been, like, these things could have been months in the making. For example, the AD trade to the Lakers, that could have been like agreed a year ago,
I mean, that might have, but the thing is,
so that's not.
but the thing is, who was the real like. If you want to talk about tampering, right? Like tampering is like what turning a player's head. Come to us, we can give you this, we can give you that, we can do this for you, we can do that for you, right? It's like, who are the real sort of like people that convinced AD, for example, to request a trade from the Pelicans?
The
It wasn't Genie Bus, man.
Yeah, of course not. It was the agents, man. It was like
LeBron James and the agent.
I can give you a prime example. So it happened at the Lakers, right? With Clutch Sports. Both LeBron James and AD are signed to Clutch Sports. Another good example would probably be the Nets. Kyrie is signed to Rock Nation Sports, and so is KD. And they're both and a lot of people don't know this, but the director of either the sports director or the director of Rock Nation Sports, he's cousins with or brothers with the GM of the Brooklyn Nets. So there's a lot of these things that go. I mean, I'm not saying that that's the definite reason, but these are definitely strong factors to consider in some of these moves that people overlook.
I mean, I don't think many people overlook that now, especially after the AD thing. Like, the fact of the matter is that, when they, you can say, all right, like KD and Kyrie are part of the same agency, like, or, like, I think Draymond joined Clutch this year as well. Yeah. Like, the fact of the matter is that, like, they're friends. Like, these players are friends, right? Like the whole KD Kyrie thing, like their friendship came about reportedly because of the Olympics, right? When they're in the Olympic team together, So again, it just comes back to the point of like, who is really doing the recruiting and who is really quote unquote tampering the players? It's not the GMs, man. It's the players themselves. Yeah.
No, I think GMs just try to sell you on a project, but the agents are the ones that go like, hey, you should come here because who's going to like. This player's gonna come here. You get to play with your friend.
No, the player is the one. The player is the main one. The player is definitely the main guy. Especially, I mean, having said that, it like for a team where there's a player already there. Mm-hmm. For example, like LeBron James, right? LeBron James isn't saying, "Hey, Rich Paul, go talk to AD and tell him this." LeBron James is out there, friggin' on his phone, talking to people. You see, after every game, right? After every game in this past season, right? Like
he raises up his jersey.
The camera's always on LeBron, right? Who's he talking to? What's he saying? He goes up to Kawhi and he whispers in his ear. He goes up to Kyrie, he whispers in his ear. He goes up to KD, he whispers in his ear, right?
What do you think he says?
Like, yeah, I know the media storylines are all like he's trying to recruit them, right? And the reality is, I think he probably is. Yeah. Right. So.
He even admitted himself in the interview with Rachel Nichols. He was like, "Yeah, I recruit all the time. I try to recruit all the time."
And the thing is, like, all the best players will do it.
Yeah.
Because why wouldn't you?
Yeah, like why wouldn't you? Like, look at Kawhi. I didn't say Kawhi is quiet, but I'm pretty sure Kawhi had a part in telling, Paul George, come to the Clippers potentially.
I mean, I'm sure he had a very big part. I'm sure, like and I'm sure the story will come out about how it happened. But yeah, like that's what I'll say it again. It's like, the GMs are, in terms of like quote, the real people involved in quote unquote tampering. It's not the GMs. Yeah, it's the players.
Yeah. All right, I think that should be enough of basketball. Sherry did it. I think let's did the basketball.
So thank you for listening. Goodbye.
I'm here with Fun Guy.
What's tomorrow?
Fun Guy, what's up, baby?
What it do, baby?
Yeah, you already know.